The releases for Warcry have been crazy this week. We've just got the full details for the new Bloodhunt box set. I'm still only halfway through the Underworlds fighters from the recent FAQ, and now we've got the new rules for Grinkrak's Looncourt from the new White Dwarf. White Dwarf 485 is due to hit the shelves soon enough, but those who have a subscription get a little bit earlier, which is how we've managed to get the details for this Underworlds Warband in Warcry. The cards I'll be showing in the video have been mocked up using the Warcry Card Creator, which you can find in the description. The Looncourt has a total of 7 models, for a total of 8 goblins, 3 squigs, and more mushrooms than you can shake a stick at. These are all part of the Gloomspite Gits Warband, so they have access to all those abilities, which you can find in the Destruction PDF on the Warhammer community website. These are all repeated in the copy of White Dwarf for convenience. There are 2 new abilities that any of the Looncourt gobbos can use. The first is a reaction, Tough Nut. It's a super defensive ability, reducing up to 2 crits against them, down to normal hits. Gobbos are generally quite low health, so moving a crit of 4 down to a hit of 1 or 2 can actually be enough to save them. The second ability is a double, Enthusiastic Dubbin, which lets you chain 2 activations together. We saw something similar to this with the Claws of Karnak in the new Bloodhunt box. I really like the ability, but it's obviously better when you're using it with big scary fighters who can do lots of damage. Grinkrak and Grib on the Bounder both look pretty dangerous, so maybe we can make it work with them. Even with the little gits, it can be a really useful ability when you have objectives or treasure to score. You do risk impact damage, so that's a d6 with a 1 doing 3 damage and 2 to 3 doing 1 damage. That can mean a lot for the little gits, but it's all part of the fun of playing gobbos. We start with the leader, Grinkrak the Great. He's exactly the same as a Loon boss, but with 5 more points, which is basically the price for the bonus abilities. In addition to the 2 abilities anyone from Looncourt can use, Grinkrak also has a double, which will give him a bonus action after he takes out a fighter. He's doing an average of 4 damage per attack versus toughness 4 fighters, so he can get some work done. That reach of 2 will also help him stay alive a little bit longer while doing so. Grib the Wonky Lance is a Boingrot Bounder, again for 5 more points. These guys are a lot of fun. With decent health, great speed, and fly, they can get to where you want them to fast. They also do good damage with an average of 4.5 versus T4, again with a reach of 2. Grinkrak and Grib, chained together with Enthusiastic Dubbin, could be quite dangerous. Hopefully not to themselves. Snowball the Spore is something different. The closest equivalent I could find was the Shuda, but Snowball is doing so much more. He's 5 points cheaper, plus 1 toughness, and does more damage. The Shuda is 1.5 melee and 1.3 at range. Snowball is doing 2 damage melee and 2 at range. In addition, Snowball has a triple unique to him, which boosts the move of nearby friendly fighters. This is the Swift as the Wind ability from the Tempest Eye that has been very popular in tournaments. Although this is the post-FAQ version, this is a fantastic ability to have. Popping at turn 1 will get your entire group a big movement boost and into position fast. Sometimes you can even get this to 2 battle groups, and with the gits as cheap as they are, you'll end up boosting a lot of fighters. Next up we have Skullco and Pronk, who are 2 gits on top of each other, hiding behind a shield and catapulting squigs at the enemy. Again, the closest equivalent I could find is the Shuda, but this fighter is a massive 40 points more expensive. That does come with advantages. 1 extra toughness for shield, 6 extra wounds, which makes sense as it's 2 gits after all. The melee is slightly improved with the crit boost, while the range attack is much better. It is only 2 damage, but after getting in position turn 1, Skullco and Pronk are unlikely to move again, partially because they have moved 3, but more importantly range 20, so all the board will be fair game. Polk Snark has taken his Poke Spear and upgraded it with a bitey squig. He's actually up to 4 average damage versus T4, so obviously it's working. A normal stabber will do 2 damage on average, and Polk Snark is almost the cost of 2 gits with stabbers, so keep that in mind. On the plus side, you do get the Looncourt Rune Mark, and he is still slightly cheaper than those 2 gits, who you would need to do the same damage. Last up, we have Moonface Nagas and Pointy Burg. These are the same as their stabber equivalents, but 5 more. Bodies for 60 points is still super cheap, and lots of warbands would love to get fighters like this, even if they are just coming in with 2 average damage for the blade and 1.6 for the spear. In total, this warband comes to 740 points, so it is pretty chunky, but you do have room for some other gits. For that 260, you could get something big like an Orc Megaboss, or get more gits, maybe some from Zarbag's crew. There are 7 gits total from this warband, so if we assume we're actually paying 5 more for everyone, that's a total of 35 points just for the abilities. That's not quite another gobbo, but it's still a chunky number. For all that, you do get to make your gits super annoying with the reaction denying your opponents the joy of getting crits. You also get an incredibly fun double to mess with the tempo of the game, something that previously was a universal triple reserved only for leaders. All in all, this warband looks like a lot of fun. The costing is pretty tight, and I definitely approve of the slight cost increase for the extra abilities. Snowball and the pair of Skullco and Pronk offer some new profiles, and Snowball is of particular interest. He's probably a must-have for any Gits warband from now on. If you like playing gobbles in Warcry, this warband and White Dwarf 485 are basically a must-buy, as you get all the rules and the cards you need for the warband. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.